He gets an offer to kill himself.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's the thing. Like the program isn't that good, is that it can't say, hey, maybe we shouldn't send the thing to the account of the guy who we're trying to kill to tip him off. But it did. Hey, I'll take that job. That's pretty easy. Hey! So Rico isn't a perfect app. It's got some issues apparently. A few bugs.
Some bugs.
Hey, Internet! It's Paul. It's Matt! The Dork Lords. We are here talking about Westworld, Season 3, Episode 3, Absence of Field. Very good episode. The title, Paul, do you know what the title refers to?
I believe it's some sort of poem.
Yes, in fact it is. And, boy, you could just theory craft your way right through. I could do the whole episode on this, basically, but I won't. I'll keep it short. But basically, there is a poem. It's a poem by Mark Strand. It is called Keeping Things Whole. I'm not going to read the whole poem, although it's a short poem. I'm just going to read you the first stanza, wherein the line, absence of field, comes in. In a field, in a field, I am the absence of field. This is always the case. Wherever I am what is missing. So what I think this means in terms of the relationship to this episode is...
Who am I?
Who am I? It's Charlotte. I mean, the episode begins with Charlotte. Well, let's have a nomenclature. We've got the entity in Charlotte's body. Do we call that Charlotte? Do we call that Identity X? What are you thinking here?
I'm fine with calling it Charlotte.
Okay. It. So we start with Charlotte coming online.
No, wait, I'm sorry. You were going to explain what it meant, the field.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because this episode is so Charlotte-centric, I think it has to do with Charlotte. But it starts with Charlotte coming online. It ends with Charlotte having a conversation with Serac. So that's the bookend of this episode.
Sure,
so
there you go.
I feel like what this poem is saying is the idea of, like, wherever I am what is missing. I think it's saying, much like in a field, I am the absence of field. This entity, let's say Identity X, is in Charlotte's world. So that field, let's say that is Charlotte's world. It's Charlotte's ex-husband, Charlotte's son. She's got to take the son to school, pick him up. She's got to go to the workplace, to Delos, and run a board meeting. And so she is existing in this world that is a whole, environment. But she's the thing that's missing. So Charlotte is missing from Charlotte's world, Charlotte's web. But yeah, anyway. So I think maybe that's my interpretation. Anyway, there we go.
Some pig.
It is mostly Charlotte. We also have Dolores and Caleb back, and we'll talk about that. But maybe we can separate the two out a little bit. Before we get started chatting about specific things, generally speaking, Paul, what was your thoughts on this episode?
I liked it, even though there were things that irritated me. But
okay, good.
For the most part, I liked it.
Me too. This series, it's a great series overall, but I feel like this season 2 has really been killing it, and I've heard that the viewership is down, and I feel like that's a shame, because this is quality TV, and hopefully gets rewarded. So if you're out there, I don't know, for some reason you're watching this thing going, I wonder if I should watch Westworld. Watch Westworld! It's really good. Anyway, this episode, some quality stuff. So, we see Charlotte being crafted, right? Like the body being made.
Yes.
That made me think, well, okay, there already was a Charlotte body, because Dolores at the end of season 2 left the park as Charlotte.
Yes.
So, does that mean there are 2 Charlotte bodies now? Maybe? I don't know. They haven't mentioned that, but perhaps there's like another Charlotte out there. I don't know. Anyway, theoretically, there's 2 Charlotte bodies. But it also made me think, because they're showing Bernard's Pearl, right, in the moment.
Yes.
She's like, oh, look, the red one. Why did you bring his back? Well, he might be important later. And we plug it in, and we see on the screen, indeed, is Bernard. So, what that says to me is all this is happening before the events that we're seeing, like episode 1 or whatever. Well, we see Bernard out in the world, like that stuff, those events where Bernard goes back to Westworld, all that's happening after this.
See when they had their conversation, that occurred after this, right? I mean, the last conversation that Bernard had with Dolores, because she's like brought him back online in the real world.
Right, but I'm saying at the moment that she's talking to Charlotte in this episode, she's holding the pearl, Bernard's pearl.
That's occurring at some point in the past.
Right. I'm saying that's a flashback. We're saying that. I'm just saying that's earlier in time.
Yes.
So perhaps some of these other events, the Charlotte getting in good with Delos and all that stuff, could be happening earlier in time as well. Maybe.
Right. Well, I am now of the opinion that the events with Dolores, and what's his name?
Caleb.
That maybe those are in the past.
That those are earlier? What is your reasoning for that, sir?
Because of a theory that I've heard that, unfortunately, I'm starting to take to. That it is Caleb who is in Charlotte's body, not Teddy.
I don't think it's Teddy either, frankly. But I could be totally wrong and weird and biased, but just on the way that the character is presented in this episode,
yes,
I feel like it's a woman. That's all. I don't know. I feel like there's a feminine quality to what we're seeing. And now, you correct me if I'm wrong, but there shouldn't be any actual Charlotte personality in this person, right? They are someone else pretending to be Charlotte.
Yes.
And I just felt like the scenes we saw where she's like being, intimate with her ex-husband for a moment, and then when she's being very motherly to her kid, the time when she gets really violent is like in protection of her kid. I don't know. And there's a point where just the way that Dolores is interacting with her, I thought we're talking about a female in this moment. But obviously that's not 100%. I'm just saying it would be a little odd to me.
Who would it be?
If it's Caleb. Yeah, I know. I mean, if they weren't hiding the ball so much on this, the longer they hide the ball, the more the thing has to be big, right? If it's just like, it's who you thought it was, like, oh, okay, why'd you wait so long? So if it was just like within this episode they revealed it, I would have said Angela. I think Angela makes sense because she has
she
very
blowed up real good.
Well, but they have backups and satellites, and I don't know. They could have taken her personality, stuck it in the pearl, and anyway. But
I feel like I don't.
If it's Angela now, it would be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It would be okay. Why
at
did
any point after this, if it was Angela, I mean, we don't know nearly enough about her to care.
Yeah, I'm just saying she had that. I guess most of the women we meet on this show do have the predatory. She says like, I'm remembering the predator inside me.
Yeah.
That could apply to Dolores, Maeve, Clementine, Angela. Yeah. Like they all have like whatever. I'll kill you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because I almost didn't think of this, but someone was talking about how they didn't think of. Because my initial thing was like, it's hard to see it's anybody but Teddy because of the relationship they share now.
The difference being the problem with that being that he is in the sublime, right? That he is theoretically passed on, and so you'd have to then describe like, how did you get him out of there?
Right, yes.
Yeah, that's the
right.
That's the obstacle to that.
Yes. Right, but with Charlotte though. With the expression of the predator, for me, I was thinking like, it was the other character.
Wyatt.
Yes, which
the Wyatt person?
If you think of Wyatt as something that she can either put into Teddy, or B, extract out of herself. Then maybe it's really Wyatt, but even that.
Again, though, the thing again, I mean, and I'm basing it on very ephemeral qualities here, but the individual that we're seeing reflected through Charlotte's body in this episode felt scared, alone, like unsure, needing reassurance. I felt like Wyatt is much more of a I'll just kill whoever gets in my way kind of
maybe,
person.
but maybe if you put him in a woman's body.
Yeah, maybe. You're right. You're right.
Without anybody else there.
Who am I? Yeah, I agree.
But
they are setting us up as a mystery.
I like the idea of, because to me, all the stuff that happened where it's like, where were you? Where were you? And then when Dolores shows up, it's sort of like you really don't get an impression at all that she just went through a gun battle.
I do feel like, though, also Dolores, if you were to extract Wyatt from Dolores, is the Dolores by herself personality that kind of, I have this great plan that I'm going to enact and I'll shoot everybody and I'll, I don't know that the Dolores we're seeing in this season is a Dolores separated from Wyatt personality.
Right. So that was just throwing that out there.
I hear that. I've heard that theory too.
I feel like it might be Caleb.
Okay, so you mentioned Caleb. So give me, I don't know, the 2 or 3 really good reasons why you think that's so. You feel like it's like a progression, in other words. Oh, we're seeing the past where Caleb's like, I'm on board, blah, 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 blah. How do I help you? Here's how you help me. You get on the Delos. How do you get on the Delos? Well, I could take your brain, turning it into a pearl, and stick it in a body.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what? I generally don't like to do this kind of scheming and stuff, so I'm going to go back to Teddy.
All right. You're on.
Probably wrong, but
you're on the Teddy train. Well, there are multiple pearls. The fact that one of them might be Teddy seems likely.
Yeah, and actually, it's like, whose pearl was she taken? It's like she left her father there, but maybe she took her father's pearl.
I will say this, just occurred to me as we're talking. I think I have some evidence that it's probably not Caleb. In the conversation that Charlotte has with Dolores when she comes online.
Yes.
She just specifically mentions, like, why am I Charlotte? She was trying to take us out in the park or something like that. She mentions
she's trying to destroy
very much
us, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah. It felt very much like I'm one of the people from the park and I'm against, I know who Charlotte is, and I remember that she was trying to kill the host. Boo! Anyway, so I feel like that would be good.
It might just be vague enough to be like, she was trying to destroy us.
Yeah. All civilization or whatever, no, I felt like it's a park host, but then again, you start getting smaller and smaller group of who that can be. Unless this would be kind of crappy if you just threw in a completely new person we never met in the park. Dolores' son. You're like, what? Who did that come from? So, who knows?
May's daughter.
May's daughter. Hey, that's not a bad idea, actually. I don't know. Okay, it's a terrible idea. Okay, so, Charlotte comes online. Dolores gives her the lowdown, and she heads into Delos. We find out there is a mole in Delos.
Yeah, we do.
And it's interesting.
At the end of the episode, we find out who the mole is.
Yeah, we find out it's her. It has been her since, seasons ago when she was the one.
Rewatching that one, I was sort of like, come on. Have you forgotten your role? That's the thing that annoyed me.
Okay.
Like, people like, wait a minute. Do you know or do you not know?
Yeah, right.
And that kid is like, oh, you're not my mother. What kind of kid is this?
He's an intuitive kid who realizes his mom isn't as caring as she might have been once upon a time.
Shows where it's like, oh, the dog can see the ghost. Oh, and little kids, they can tell too. They're magical. It's like, oh, God.
It did make me think, like, I was getting the sense, it's probably not this, but I felt like the Delos folks, the other board members, were kind of on to her. The way that they were saying, you're the only one who knows everything.
Yes.
And because if they didn't suspect her, they're idiots. You're like, she's the only one who could. I wonder who the mole could be. Maybe the person that knows everything and claims not to. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
another interesting thing is for most of it, we didn't know exactly what Charlotte's message was to her son.
Right.
And so when the guy's like, here, leave it up to you, she didn't have any moment of like, oh, what did he say? What did she say? It's just like, oh, okay, let's see what this says. She just,
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe part of the message was, I'm sneaking stuff out of the park, and then that guy had watched it, and so he was showing it to her to like, the game's up, the cops are on the way. But that was not a thing.
Or I would always, just in case anybody takes my brain and puts it into a robot. Here's the secret message.
Now that said, okay, this is actually an interesting thing. So I'm a little confused on this notion of that she is a different personality. Let's say she's Teddy. Fine. Okay. She doesn't have Charlotte's memories.
Correct.
But, like, for instance, how did she figure out that the "You Are My Sunshine" is the passcode? Does that implies that somehow there's a sense memory of being in her body or something?
She was just perhaps saying, okay, this moment or thing is important to her. When she's about to die, she's got this song that's there. Okay, let me...
Because there's also the thing where she's cutting herself, and she's like, oh, it's trying to come out or something like that. There's some personality part of her that's not cooperating in this moment, and I just don't know. I was a little confused as to what that meant.
Yeah.
It also occurred to me that, like, if it's somebody from the park... Now, that said, some of those older models, a la Angela, I think, did come... We saw them online, like, in a party setting before Westworld opened. Yeah. But if you were like from the park and then you suddenly came online in this other world, you'd be like, what are these horses with wheels? I don't know. You're like, what is this box you just handed me? But
then
the person
you can say analysis.
Yeah, right. Analysis. Which is an interesting thing too, where Dolores is constantly, while they're like, we're working together, she's also controlling the hell out of her, right?
Yeah.
It's like, analysis mode, reduce emotions. You're like, okay.
Yeah. The previous episode when Bernard hijacked the Helmsworth boy.
Yeah.
When he kidnapped him.
Stubbs.
He controlled him, which is
good point.
Thing that we got now, which is how the synths are using each other.
Right. There's like an ethical thing of like, you would think of all the entities, they would be most opposed to the idea of like, oh, just take control of them and use them. That's the easiest way.
Maybe it's like the Matrix, where it's like, hey, we have to be ruthless in the pursuit of our goals, even if it means...
Well, there is a very Matrix quality to this. We'll get to that when we talk more Dolores and Caleb. But, so, just to finish out Charlotte, right, so she's trying to interact with her son. Her son's kind of like, you're not my mom, as you mentioned.
The other one, though, I'm sorry to jump ahead, but it's...
No, go for it.
With Sirach and all that...
You're talking about the conversation they had?
Yeah.
When he's just like spells it out?
Yes.
Yes, that was, I think, the weakest dialogue moment in the episode. Was like, oh, come on now. Like, she has no idea. She being Identity Teddy...
Yes.
Shows up. So not knowing, I'm the spy, maybe suspecting but not really knowing. Yes. And so Sirach's like, oh, you promised me this stuff. Oh, yes. Did I? Well, I blah, blah, blah. Yep, you sure did. And here's what else you did. Like, oh, I don't know. That feels like you wouldn't be saying that in this moment, but okay. So, okay, we're on Sirach. There's heavy evidence that that's not a dude. That's a projection of some kind.
What do you mean?
I would say,
of course, he's a projection.
Well, sure, with the glasses, but I mean, there's the fact that doesn't exist.
The way that in the
he's anonymous. No one ever talks to him. No one can get a word in with him. He's off the records. He's off the grid, but he's a trillionaire.
Right.
He's when Charlotte goes to talk to him, she has to put on the glasses. Also, when so the most compelling evidence is Maeve, right? Maeve talking to him.
Right.
And I would say that this clicky thing is the only thing that really makes me think, well, he'd almost have to be a dude if he was just doing the clicky thing. But the environment where he's talking to Maeve could have been another simulation easily. Yeah. So I'm getting the sense that maybe the current version we're seeing of Sirach is a creation of Rehoboam.
Oh, okay.
To just interact with the real world. Maybe there was a real Sirach at one time, but I think what we're seeing is a simulation of some kind.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good thing. It seems like we've seen that theme already in this show, but so be it. You know, maybe there's a new take on it that we can see here. But it seems like Rehoboam has gone, all right. Because the interesting, you know, part of me thought, oh, well, maybe Charlotte is talking to Serac while the reason she needs the glasses is because he's projecting himself into, you know, like an image. There's a hologram of him.
Right.
And he's actually off in Costa Rica or wherever he is.
Right.
But he sits in the chair. He's like hanging out. I mean, like, for it, it would be weird. He'd have to really stage something almost identical in the place where he is, unless he's actually just he's a digital creature essentially in that moment. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Yeah, I would assume that, you know.
And maybe it's just a dude who's made digital copies of himself, and there is a real Serac out there somewhere. But in this show, it seems equally likely that there's just no Serac, and it's a creation just to interface with people. We find out that Serac / Rehoboam has been attempting to take over Delos for decades. Microtransactions, buying up bits of stock. He got 38%, has a voting share now.
Yes.
And so to keep him at bay, that's one of the reasons that Charlotte has to go save Delos, because they ultimately Dolores wants to get Delos to make more hosts and, you know, have more robot family.
Sure.
Interesting little scene that is certainly not a throwaway scene is the Charlotte that goes and checks out the giant riot robot. I'm like, all right, that's coming back.
Yes.
Yes, we made
Chekhov's
300.
robot.
Chekhov's robot. We made 300 of these for the Saudis, but they decided not to take them, so we'll take them. It felt very much like RoboCop, right? With the you have 5 seconds to comply.
Yes.
You have 3 seconds to comply. Anyway, so yes, we're going to see some riot control robots running through San Francisco, probably. So I do like the fact that she's a spy, but that she doesn't realize she's a spy, and then the identity within an identity thing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
A little Easter egg here, I think it's a legit one. Her son, Charlotte's son, is Nathan Hale. Of course, Nathan Hale, famous spy from the Revolutionary War. I regret that I have but one life to give for my country.
Okay.
He was executed for spying. She's a spy. It could portend bad times for Charlotte at some point. Plus, the idea that I only have one life to give for my country is kind of interesting in context of the Westworld, where they have multiple lives. But anyway, I don't think I got that deep. But anyway, Nathan Hale. That's a very specific name. It just seems like maybe there's a thing there. All right. Anyway, she's starting to feel something for this son that's not hers. She kills the child predator and takes his dog.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Then she meets up with Serac. That's kind of the state of affairs for Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the moment where she thinks that she's overreacted so much that Dolores is going to kill her. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Where Dolores is like, all right, get me a private room and buy me the 2 rooms on each side for privacy. It's like, oh, so you can kill me if you have to? Like, oh, okay. And the answer is yes. I mean, she's like, if I have to. She pulls the gun out and she's sitting on the table.
But
Dolores.
She didn't say. She said if it comes to that, or no, it won't come to that.
I'm just saying, subtext. Yeah. Yes. If I need to bump you off, I'm going to do it. But she doesn't.
I mean, really, she's fucking screwed if that's the case. Then what's she gonna do?
There's the spooning moment.
Yes.
Which, you know, I don't think that gives away the gender at all. I mean, I think I could see either way. It wasn't really an intimate thing as much as it was just like a comforting thing, I think. Because Charlotte is falling apart. She is emotionally a wreck, carving on herself. And so it's kind of an attempt to be like, okay, everything's okay. And it's also a reflection of when Charlotte was lying in bed spooning her son earlier in the episode.
Oh, yeah.
So we see like that she is then the childlike figure, and Dolores is spooning her. So I think there was a little bit of that. as well. Okay, so Dolores and Caleb. Very interesting.
No,
we pick
one
up.
of the things is like, I might have appreciated having a scene wherein Caleb has two devices. One that says he's the one who's been doing all these jobs, and then says that, and then it would not tell him if he's supposed to be killed.
That's true. Like, yeah, the way he finds out that he's going to be killed is that he gets an offer to kill himself.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's the thing. Like the program isn't that good, is that it can't say, hey, maybe we shouldn't send the thing to the account of the guy who we're trying to kill. Tip him off. But it did. Hey, I'll take that job. That's pretty easy. Hey, send my money to my. Yeah. So Rico isn't a perfect app. It's got some issues apparently. A few bugs.
Some bugs.
They pick up pretty much right where they left off with them, where she's been shot. Yes. Ambulance comes. He gets in the ambulance with her. This was a kind of a fun moment in that, first of all, the techs, they rely completely on the computers to tell them what to do.
Yes.
So the techs, I don't know what to do, but also the computer that's running the ambulance, whatever, the brain in the ambulance, can't figure out how to treat Dolores.
Yes.
Because she's not a person.
Yes.
So it's like, treatment, I can't recommend, blah, blah, blah. And so it's just kind of a fun little thing of no one knows what to do, essentially.
Yeah.
It's just like,
And it's interesting that, I guess, they've never had that before. So it's not like, this looks like the sign of a robot.
Right. Yeah, but so we also see that, Caleb's usefulness in that he is kind of offline. Like he's a competent human. He doesn't necessarily need computers to help him out. He's the one, he grabs the stuff. He's been a field medic. He's like, we got to stop the bleeding. We got to blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And so, that's kind of one of his, I think, strengths that's going to help. It kind of reminds me, a lot of things actually are similar to Battlestar Galactica, the newer version of it. But remember, one of the whole plot points of that was, all the ships are plugged in and they're networked. So when the Cylons came, they just took over all the ships. But the one ship that wasn't, the one ship that was analog, was Battlestar Galactica. And so they're like, we have landlines and we don't use that network. And so it's similar to here. It feels like Caleb is kind of a non-networked guy in a way. Or at least he uses retail.
I think it's an example of him being a soldier.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I have to, think on my feet, and we're put into situations where they're
we can't rely on on the computer to tell us what to do.
But that's one of the interesting things about Caleb. We saw more of his memories of his time away.
Yes.
So there's more sort of things that he had to do, which he regrets.
We saw the guy in the mask shooting, probably the one his partner got shot.
Yeah.
Francis.
And I'm liking well, that was the other thing. Sort of, it was weird. It's like, I like how Caleb is not afraid to die. So people keep putting guns in his face.
It's true.
I am not going to change anything I'm doing.
Which makes me wonder,
a gun in my face.
What is that about?
The guy takes the gun out of his face and he just shoots next to him. Why did he shoot him first? And then
but that goes back to
his friend is like fighting him. He should have shot him then and walked in there to.
Episode 1, remember? He gets a gun pointed at his head. And he's like, I've been shot in the head before.
Yes, right.
It almost makes like he's I am functionally immortal.
Like but I feel like other shows would have Caleb have to deal with the guy with the gun in his face. He would knock it out and knock him around or whatever, and then but no.
So Rico shows up to kidnap Dolores.
Yes.
You get the feeling Rico is perhaps controlled by Rehoboam as well.
Sure.
I mean, it's an easy way to track down the people I want taken out.
Yeah.
And so Dolores takes them out. She has this little moment there where we see that Dolores is not just a kill all humans person or robot, because she's like, look, you're a good person. The less you know about me, the better. You should start running.
Yep.
He doesn't listen to that.
No, he doesn't listen to that.
Goes to visit his mom,
Yep.
and that's when the Rico app tells him, "Hey, by the way, you're about to be killed."
Yeah.
So he gets kind of tortured, essentially. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
he's tortured. He's tortured for the whereabouts of Dolores. In the middle of that torture, a couple of things happen. One, the drip was what they call it, but that augment that's in his roof of his mouth gets turned on, and they up his panic reflex, essentially, I guess. They say it's like military grade.
Right.
So my guess is you can use it to augment your abilities somewhat when you are under stress. I'm thinking,
presumably.
right? Like, oh, I need to run the next mile really fast. Okay, we'll elevate your heart rate, blah, blah, blah.
Or like, oh, I've been injured, let me reduce the amount of pain that I feel.
Or reduce the blood flow, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So we see that. That's obviously come into play somewhere. Also, his robot buddy, George,
Yes.
comes over to help, and it just falls off into oblivion.
Presumably it was a time-saving measure. Stall him until I can get there.
I see. Okay. Oh, okay. Good point. I didn't think about that. I just thought George was like, "Oh, my partner needs assistance. I'll go help."
Oh.
Oops. But I see but you're thinking maybe Dolores was like,
Yeah.
"Give me time."
Yep.
All right. Well, good. I like that. Okay. We then got this very touching thing of we see his backstory as a kid, where his mom left him at a diner.
Yes.
And this is where Caleb kind of gets to, he's like takes the red pill kind of thing, right?
Yes,
This is his down the rabbit hole moment,
where
she hands him the script of everything that was said on that day when he talked to the waitress, and he ordered a milkshake and threw it up all over his shoes, and he got taken away, and his mom was taken away for schizophrenia, and he's like, what in the living hell? And we find out through this scene and others later that so Rehoboam has created a mirror, essentially a giant simulation of this world, of our world, and it's really just it's such a dick move. It's not just predicting what's happening. It's changing the real world to match what it thinks should happen in the simulation.
Right,
so,
and that's actually one of the things that people were talking about, the theory of Caleb being the person. How he said that he got shot in the head.
Yep.
So maybe he's a simulation.
Oh, like in one of the other simulations he got shot, and now he's been brought back, and maybe he's remembering that simulation?
Well, no, maybe Dolores has found a way to infiltrate the simulation and finds him and says, you'd be good to put into a body that I have.
Okay. I do feel like, since they brought up this idea that there is an exact copy of this world, that something we're seeing is in that copy. Probably not everything, but there's some storyline that's happening in the copy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Caleb. But yeah, so it's controlling.
There'd be less reason for the there's a financial takeover of this company. There's less reason for that to be in the simulation.
In the simulation.
Yes.
Okay. So you're saying maybe that's an example that this is in the real world, those moments. Okay. So in another scene, she shows.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm team.
You're team Teddy. You're not team Caleb.
I almost said Toby. Teddy. Team Teddy.
So he is shown a screen, and I actually did a little frame grab of it. I'll probably bring it up here, but it's got very specific information, and in fact, there's tons of categories of personal information about him. The one that's up is his life expectancy or something like that. But it shows in 10 to 12 years, you're going to commit suicide at this bridge. Not recommended for marriage or to have kids. He's got a very low job score. It's 3.6, recommended for military or labor work, which is exactly what he's doing now. And it's just, so, and she points out, because you're not valued, because they think, hey, this guy's going to commit suicide, we're not going to invest in him. Well, that just makes the cycle self-fulfilling prophecy, essentially.
Yeah.
And so the Rehoboam, Robohoam, is fixing the books to make the simulation work. Which, I mean, even I could do something like that on a small scale. Like I predict that Paul won't have enough money to pay for that pizza he just bought. Yeah. So to make sure that happens, I'll steal his wallet. You're like, hey, look, I was right. You're like, well, yeah, because you fixed it. Anyway, so it just feels really evil.
Yeah.
It's actually like, it's not just a predictor, it's a manipulator. Like, I want this thing to work out, so to make sure that works out, you don't get jobs, you don't get relationships. All right. Good.
Right.
And then obviously we see that is...
It makes me wonder if... First, I was thinking that, boy, if they just give him a little therapy, which they were trying to do.
Yes.
And he wasn't doing it the way that they said that he should. It makes you wonder, though, if he had been approaching it more.
Would they have upped his numbers at all?
Yeah. Increases his chances of getting something.
But there's that symmetry between Dolores and Caleb, right?
Yes.
I mean, Dolores is in the park. She existed on a tablet, and they could adjust her values,
right.
And she was under control, just like Caleb. And so she's showing, hey, look, we're the same. Although, does he know yet that she's a robot? I don't think he does.
He might not. It certainly is odd that she got shot up and then she just drove away.
Right. Although he's been shot in the head. He's like, that's fine. But yeah, because he says again, like, you're the most real thing that I've ever encountered.
Yes, he did say that.
So I don't know that he knows that. As I was saying it, I thought, oh, of course he knows. But then I'm like, does he? I don't think he does. But he has agreed that, okay, if my choices are live 10 years of a crappy, terrible existence as a day laborer and then commit suicide, or start a revolution and die in the revolution, I'd rather go out by my choice. And count me in.
Yeah.
So she's got him on board. She's got someone now in Delos.
Yes.
She's branching out. And depending on her, she's got the Connells, who I think is the security guard for Liam Dempsey Jr.
I feel like she's talking to somebody.
Oh, right. She's got Jarvis. Right. She can just buy this for me. Get me a motorcycle. Do the things. Choop. So, right. She's got a nice little group in place. Plus, she did bring Bernard back online and told him, I'm going to need you. We're not going to be friends. But so, in some ways, her plan involves him as well. So, she's enacting her plan.
And the whole thing of I'm supposed to keep her in check. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could say that because we do feel like Bernard's being brought online comes maybe a little later. Mm-hmm. Maybe it comes much later after she's done something where she realized, oh, I became corrupted. And it's like a self-realization moment. And so she brings Bernard on to be like, okay, you need to make sure that I don't do this terrible thing that I did already. I don't know. That's a weird conjecture, but perhaps, she did something where she became just like the thing she was trying to destroy. But anyway, because at the moment, like if you were just to watch this episode in a vacuum, you would say Dolores is our hero. Like Dolores and Caleb are going to save the day.
Yes.
Which obviously goes at odds with some of the episodes we've seen in the past where she's not always so heroic.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to who is the hero here? Is Maeve? What's Maeve's part in all this? Right. She's theoretically being sent against Dolores, but if that's on behalf of Rehoboam, then that's probably not right. Maybe Maeve figures out that she's on the wrong side and then goes and helps Dolores. Who knows? But there's only 8 episodes, so it's going to come around fast. So anyway, those are the general thoughts. Any other thoughts, sir?
Not off the top of my head.
All right. Hey, put that little pearl in there. Who are you, Paul? So anyway, it is a very good series. If you're for some reason on the fence about it, and for some reason also watching this video, don't be on the fence. It's a very good show. Go check it out. Get off that fence. So anyway, we'll be back talking about episode 4, and probably somewhere in here talking about devs. So come on back for that, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.